Raising a child with disabilities can be both an immensely difficult and beautifully life-affirming experience. Eliza Factor, the founder of Extreme Kids and Crew, a space for families with children with disabilities, is here to discuss her new book, Strange Beauty, about the experience of raising her son Felix. Eliza Factor, welcome to BK Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, you're a neighbor, and we're happy that you could spend some time to walk over today. So let's begin with the book. It's coming out very soon, and this is what is an extreme labor of love, even.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything I ever wanted to say about what I've learned from living with Felix is in that book. So it feels like it's a great relief that it's coming out, I must say. It's just like, all of this, it's a kind of complicated amount of stuff, so it needs a book, and so I'm glad to be able to put it in there.
So you've written a big, complicated book about a story, but it all starts from a simple place of loving this kid named Felix.
Yeah.
Describe your boy to us.
Well, let's see. His favorite word right now, or it's a phrase, is, "No, I'm not."
Sounds like me.
Every time I say it, he's like, "No, I'm not." So he's kind of enigmatic with language. And part of the book is about living with a kid whose take on English is so radically different from my own, and so fascinating. I mean, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And so the way I always used language was, to connect with people and to make sense of the world. And I don't really know the way that Felix uses language. I mean, he understands it.
Yeah.
But the way he uses phrases and stuff, when you look over the course of his lifetime, they make sense. But in the moment, they're like koans. And but on the other hand, it's really easy to communicate with it. Like, he kind of taught me that language obfuscates as much as it clarifies, and a lot of our communication is just like your smile and your hair, and not what you're saying.
How huge is that for a writer, though? Like, I don't want to make this all about like your personal or your professional pursuits, but really to know how your relationship to language is and what that means, to see it fed through your son's lens and then gotten to you. Like, what does that mean?
Well, it's been good for my writing.
Yeah.
All I know is all of your little clever trills with writing are just like, it's just like, you really want to dive into what you're trying to say. And he's done that for me.
So he's done that for you. How has Felix's condition and the way that it's manifest really affected your family?
Well, he was our first child. So, I mean, he kind of started our family. And I guess, it was really, really hard just being his parent for the first few years, or almost the first 10 years, because we couldn't really sleep for about 10 years, maybe 4 hours a night pieced together. And there was violence, which we were speaking about. There's a lot of just tension and frustration in the house, a lot of kind of putting down fights. And that experience, doing that with my husband and seeing him, just be so kind of magnificent, I think just made us a pretty strong family. I'd say that he made a very powerful family.
Well, we should note that Felix has mobility issues with just walking, but you talked about this notion of extreme disabilities where he's prone to doing acts of self-harm as well.
Yeah. He's in pretty good shape these days. Good. I mean, he'll hit himself to express frustration, but it's not. I mean, it's a communicative slap. That pisses me off, that kind of thing.
Right.
The kind of major season in hell stuff is under control, and I think a lot of it is because he's in an environment that really works for him. He's up in a mountain, as I was saying, a wonderful school that is funded by Medicaid and is helping wonderful people and employing terrific people, and it's really kind of the best of our country up there, you know, when we go visit. And so, you know, let's keep that going, guys.
Well, speaking of environments that are great, Extreme Kids and Crew. This is another labor of love that was born out of a need and a desire to really connect. So explain to us just what it is. We're looking at some great video here that gives us a little hint of what you might see at Extreme Kids and Crew.
Well, when Felix was first born, our life was pretty much therapists in hospitals. Yeah. And then when his sisters were born, like when he was about 3.5, Miranda was born, and when he was 5.5, Happy was born. And the experience of having a kid that fit in was so different than having Felix. Like all of a sudden, there was we were surrounded by people that wanted us to go on picnics or, you know, take.
And you said he was your first, so that's all you ever knew.
So we had this kind of sense of real isolation. I mean, we loved Felix, and we loved being with Felix, and we loved the therapists and people we met through Felix.
But it can be so isolating.
But it was isolating. I felt like I couldn't really talk to anybody that didn't know about disability. Right. And so having these girls where I could just kind of interact with everybody in the neighborhood made me realize how much I'd missed, like how wonderful it would be to have that kind of preschool social community for kids like Felix. So you know, we started Extreme Kids, and the idea
is... you didn't see it, so you created it.
Well, I mean, you know, I had met some other mothers and fathers who had kids with disabilities just in the neighborhood. Right. And it really was a neighborhood. It was a Fort Greene neighborhood thing. There were lots of people that just kind of jumped out of the woodwork. You know, they were just like, yeah, that's a great idea. How can I help you? Yeah. So, you know, there were tons of people from the start, and it just snowballed because so many people were enthusiastic about it. And there was such a need just to have a place that was free and open. That was really the whole point, was just to have families meet and have fun together.
So what can someone experience if they did stop by Extreme Kids? What's the environment like?
Well, on the weekends, we have a play space in PS 15 in Red Hook and in PS 71 in Ridgewood, both in Title I schools. And we've set up these sensory gyms in these schools that the schools can use during the week for their kids with disabilities. And then on the weekend, we open it up to the community, and so people from all over the city come with their kids, and you know, they bring their kids with disabilities and the siblings, and we just play in this great sensory gym, or do art projects, or you know, make music or dance, whatever, you know, any we have different programs, but it's basically about bringing people together and celebrating what they can do, and
that's amazing.
That's it.
So this is like the happy ending, the bright side, but
it's very happy.
It is happy, but there is some I want to pay proper respect to everyone who is having a difficult time right now. Yeah. And you had an article recently in Elle magazine, and I read it online, that really chronicled what it feels like at the lowest points when you're questioning everything, and you were so brutally honest and so specific in your descriptions and what happened, even when you went to the other side and went further than you would have liked to, when your love turns into some sort of act of aggression as well.
Yeah.
Where did you find the courage to be so honest for the world to read what has to be happening over and over again in families right now?
I think it's because when I got a lot of courage from Extreme Kids and from the community that, you know, I'm part of. Right. And I do a lot of writing and talking about the positive sides of disability, because there are a lot of positive sides. I mean, like, you know, it makes you see things differently. It brings people together. You know, it's creative. I mean, it's not at all just a negative thing. Right. But because I always am talking about that, I sometimes am like, feel like a fool, because I'm like, you know, I almost like, you know, you know, like I've seen Felix just lacerating himself with frustration and something that I don't even know what it is. Like there've been moments of total despair that I've felt and that my husband has felt when he's been miserable. And and it's awful. And so I guess I wanted to balance that, you know? I mean, like, so that I didn't feel like a fool. But also, I just think that there's a lot of, there's like a taboo about talking about violence in the family.
Right.
You know, it's always seen as like a bad thing. We moralize it. And I think that a lot of violence is a response to overwhelming pressure.
Just as a plain release that's
I mean,
explosive.
I mean, it's physical, you know, I mean, and it's, and so, you know, to work for nonviolence isn't just to kind of always be controlling yourself or judging people that can't, but to be trying to create environments where there isn't so much pressure. And so, you know, talking about the facts can help. And, you know, when I wrote that article, I did get really beautiful. I was afraid, actually, because I talk in that article about this time when my son, you know, he tries to hurt himself, and so like you physically restrain him, and but it can get, you know, like you're fighting when you're holding somebody down. It's still
doesn't want to be held down.
Yeah, so they're like biting you and dissing you, and you know, one time when this was happening, he escaped my grasp and hit himself so hard. And I was so angry, I just hit him again. I was like, fine, you want to hit yourself, I'll hit you too. And then I was just like, what have I done?
Right.
But I, you know, and then I got out of the room. I was like, oh my God, this is not helping.
The thing is, everyone who's ever been in a situation knows what it's like to get to that point, and whether you go left or go right with it, or have a physical just outbreak or outburst of something, you know what that feeling is like.
Yeah, and I think we just need to be able to talk about it. Anyway, so I got like letters from people that were really grateful because they felt like their house was the only house where that was happening, and it's not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we really need to figure out ways to help each other. You know, and sometimes it's just somebody else coming in and holding. You know, like sometimes you need more than just one parent who hasn't slept in 2 weeks.
Sometimes you need to read the book Strange Beauty and find your community, because it's never happening in just one house. So Eliza Factor, thank you so much for coming. Our love to Felix and the rest of the fam. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. The book is Strange Beauty.
Strange Beauty coming out.
It's out in moments in August.
August 22nd. Green light.
Hey, green light down the street.
Reading,
Go pre-order a copy of Strange Beauty. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.